You're very welcome back. In this video, I'm going to discuss or talk about the reality of funding an elite sport like precision rifle shooting, specifically in relation to the para side of things, the Paralympic rifle shooting. People see the result, but they don't see the receipt. When you see someone similar to myself on a starting line, the visual side of the shooting is one aspect, but none of the factors getting you there, aside from training, the financial side of it is actually not that clear. And what I'd like to do is maybe go a little bit through that, because this is part of a program. It's not just because I'm in a wheelchair doesn't mean you show up and you get a medal for being in the wheelchair. It's part of it's parallel Olympics is what we're talking about. I've created a program behind it. It's a private one, and it is expensive. There's equipment, there's travel, support staff. Altogether, it comes to quite an amount of money, because there are no domestic competitions, and the level I need to shoot at is international. And to fly myself and my gear and my support team, because of the physical circumstances I'm in, it requires quite a lot. If I was able-bodied, it would be substantial enough, but because I'm in complete tetraphasia, so 2 legs and a left arm don't work properly. So I've got a power wheelchair, and my shooting chair have to come, the rifle and its adaptations gear. My spare wheelchair has to come as part of the baggage. That's before I even put clothes in a bag and bring it. And then the physicality of me traveling, unfortunately, because of the situation, I can't travel in a tight space. My muscles are spastic and they kick off and pull the chairs apart. So that's the reality. And my support, because of my challenges, I do require physical support close by that can actually help me when and if things go a little bit off. That's not a complaint, though. It's just a description of the environment I'm in. I suppose I'm talking about a program here too, not a competition. So a program for me, if we look at the mission is 28, the Olympics in Los Angeles. And to do that, I've got to get what they call a quota place. And to get quota places, you have to attend certain competitions, such as European Championships, World Championships, and World Cups. To be allowed to compete in those competitions, you have to go to pre-qualifiers. And they'll tell you need a minimum qualifying score, or MQS, of a certain number. That just makes sure that people who show up at those competitions are actually valid athletes at a level that's consistent with Paralympic type shooting, rather than a competition just for people in wheelchairs. It's actually a competition of people at a certain level who have physical disabilities. And the areas that I cover usually, I've got equipment and consumables. It's precision equipment as well. We talked about this before. The bullseye I shoot at is 0.5 millimeter in size. So the type of precision equipment you're looking at there, when it's actually, for example, my sights, 0.01 and 0.1 would be of a millimeter are the modifications of a sight. So I can actually move my sight 0.1 of a millimeter to get it right into the dead center of a bullseye. That comes at a cost. Then there's training infrastructure that I have to get to range days. There's membership and accreditations to organizations that I need to pay so that I can compete internationally as well. Then there's the international travel to competition. And then there's the accommodation. The accommodation that we get, it's defined by the organization. It's not open to interpretation or discussion as such. So it's a set fee, if you want. With that comes transfers to the hotel, and from the hotel to the competition. Because I'm in a wheelchair, it's not a question of just grabbing a local taxi and getting in, or local transport and getting in. The transport has to be all laid on, and that does come at a cost. Again, this is not a complaint. This is just purely I suppose a description of the environment that I'm competing in, so that people do actually understand. Um, Anyone who's watching the video here, it's about including potential partners and hopefully explaining to them what it is they're actually investing in. They're not sponsors, partners are not donors, they're funding capacity, similar to a business. There are front-loading fees in businesses, and the output then covers the costs as such like that. In this case, we don't have a way of covering or refunding money or giving back money, but it is an investment in the program, and it's a transparent enough program. Public probably assumes that all athletes are taken care of and funded, and there will, once the medals come in at Olympic level, there are what we call, I believe, carded athletes, and there are certain amounts of money given, but that doesn't cover your day-to-day costs. And we are up against certain countries that actually have massive funding. So this is all volunteers. My coach is volunteers. The executive that I compete under, Target Shooting Ireland, they're all volunteers. Other countries actually have structured payrolled positions with massive investment, and that's what we're going up against. And we're competing at a level that's not below that. So the people we're going up against, they're not shooting any better than I am. But there isn't the same funding behind the sport that other organizations in other countries have. I'd say it's sponsor of an elite program. It's funding capacity. It's allowing more training hours, better equipment. I'd say as well, it's training in an environment that's appropriate. So, for example, if you looked at the different levels of the league, if you're in J, you've got appropriate levels of competition at different levels. So Division A is where the top tier players would be, B and so on. The reality is I have to compete against the best so that I can maintain a level at the best level or performance, if that makes sense. You have to compete against the best so that you have an understanding exactly what the benchmark is, and that can't be done here in Ireland because we don't have the amount. I am currently the only Paralympic SH2 rifle shooter. So I have to go abroad for those camps, if you want, for the training environment. I think the funding or the partnership is going to fund infrastructure, and infrastructure is what delivers the results, if that makes sense. So infrastructure, I'm talking about the equipment, the flights, accommodation, the amount of stuff I have to transport. Unfortunately, due to the nature of my injury, the equipment is competition. If you think about it, we're talking about 0.5 of a mil again, and I have to be shooting. If you think of it, there's 10 concentric circles in that 0.5 millimeter, and I have to be accurate to the top 5, so 10.5 and above, just to qualify for a final. That requires a competition grade rifle, the jacket I have, sighting system, the support stand that I shoot off because my left arm doesn't work. I have a spring and a stand, and I'll show that at some stage in the video. Rifle alone is probably the price, definitely more than the price of my first car, that's for sure. It's maintained, though, to a very high level. It's not a thing of we go through rifles. That rifle I have at the moment for air competition, 10-meter air rifle, it's going to do me until I give up shooting. That's the reality of it. The consumables then being the pellets. They're match-grade pellets. And I can tell you, when it comes down to ammunition matching your rifle, there's a phenomenal difference. The difference being like a shotgun. In terms of what you're hitting, there's no consistency. The pellets aren't manufactured the same level. The generic ones, as they are, my pellets they're batch matched against my rifle for consistency, and that's the level I need to be, I suppose, getting my equipment at, so I can compete with others who already have that. I do about 1,000 shots a week with my air rifle, and they're not all live rounds. They may be dry fire, what we call. To reinforce the process. But if I had the facilities available to me, I would actually be doing more live firing. There is no doubt about that. So I'm restricted in what I can do there. There's also the cost of getting to and from the range, because that's quite a difficult one as well. Affiliations, things like that, which are standard enough in some respects. The training, I'd leave that to one side. My coach is a volunteer. the executive are volunteers. So we're in the training environment we're putting in. There's all volunteers. But the travel and competition, it's quite costly. Again, I mentioned we're going to a place that the hotels are already picked for us, that there are specific transport. I'm confined to a power wheelchair. You can't just have someone say, well, he can transfer into the back of a car. For example, going to Korea, there's a 5.5-hour trip in the back of a van somewhere to get us from the airport to the competition. It needs to be a van at a certain size so that my wheelchair can easily get in and get out, because even within Ireland here, I've actually had to lower my head like that in taxis in the back of them so that I can actually travel, which that wouldn't be good for an hour even, but if you bang 5 hours on top of that, that's the environment I'm in. Again, I'm not trying to make it sound dour by any manner of means. That's an explanation of the environment that I'm in. And yeah, the flights and accommodation, I have a lot of baggage to come. I'm not getting away with a Ryanair carry-on bag. There's no doubt that's going to happen. And we can only travel with certain carriers because only certain carriers allow you to bring guns on in the whole as storage. So there's costs around that. There's logistics costs. And then there's my team. I have a personal carer to take care of my physical needs, who also doubles as my loader. I have a loader for competitions because of my left arm not working properly. The public funding, it's real, but it's also partial, and that's probably the biggest challenge. People think, and respectfully, there are people in the world who need money. So this is not about, we need to give the guy in the wheelchair shooting extra money. It's to sort of just understand that just because I'll show up at a competition, it hasn't been funded by anything other than as much as I can myself. And that's extremely limited, but nonetheless, everything I have has been sold to invest in this wonderful sport. But there is no public funding until I get to a certain level. And unfortunately, I have to get to that certain level and there's nothing to get me there. So you're talking about the camps that we'd have to go to. That's not covered. None of the qualifiers for the next 4 years are covered. Even once I do win medals at Olympics, Paralympics, not everything is covered. And that gap is substantial. All I could say is that every penny that goes into this system is purely for the system. It definitely doesn't enhance my lifestyle. And it's not put together for that. It's put together 100%, and it's managed remotely from me. It's not in my pocket, to allow me to take part at competitions, buy the appropriate consumables where rifles would be needed in the future. For small bore, for example, that'll be purchased through that side of things. Organisations that we go to compete at, OSIEC being the next one, the most immediate one in July. Any money gained would go directly to the executive to manage, so that we can approach that in a professional way. Trying to generate partnerships takes away from, because I am the power of one, if you want. This is my machine, but it takes away from training. And we're not talking about training at just participation level. We're training at winning level. The numbers are already coming in line. A recent test I did would have put me 23rd in the last Olympics, Paralympics. And that's 1 year into it. And it's up against people who would have been, for example, 20 years at this, 5 Olympic cycles. So I'm new to it. So the numbers are backed up by the ability, the numbers that are showing up. So we test. The results from the test show that we're aligned with where we should be in the mission to get to Los Angeles 28. The ideal situation would be where we would have one partner who sees the benefit of this and the alignment between the processes that I deliver in my shooting every day, and that those processes could actually be visualized by internal teams in organizations. I didn't suddenly end up with these processes. These are ones that I've delivered in multinationals previously, in IT infrastructure, project management, infrastructure, both physical and cloud. Everything I do now is purely an extension of that. I certainly didn't design these programs and this mindset. This is actually something I've always done. So it can be applied to existing businesses. Multi-year would take my eye off of having to go every time and try and get somebody. But it can also be done through a group of individuals or group of businesses who would feel that getting behind a program like this could extend credibility within their own organisation and of their own organisations. Credibility of a situation that we have, which is we're going up against the world champions. We're going up against organisations that have multi-million euro and sterling programs already in place, and we're doing it through volunteer network as such. That'd be an exciting journey and an exciting ride for anyone who sees this is not possibility, this is probability, and that wants to get on board with that. It's all about providing the capacity and contributions to deliver that capacity. The decision it's made on infrastructure. It's not an appetite as such. We are delivering already. Everything is metricized, so there's no rolling forecasts as such. It's a set number each year that's needed. There's a set amount of money required each year for each competition. That is the reality of it. And the capacity will allow us to deliver at a higher level by meeting that capacity. I suppose if businesses or individuals, privately, professionally, or as businesses, are able to support this program, it's buying into a capacity that already works. Buying into a system that already works. It's not a trial tested. The metrics are there behind it. I mean, if it was a business, it'd be such a cert. It would be annoyingly sure. You invest X amount of energy on a process that delivers X amount of an outcome. The outcome is verified. You increase. You rework the process. It's not pie in the sky. It's very, very specific. As I said, the result is the part you see, and the receipt is unfortunately the part nobody sees. I'm just thinking that maybe what I'll do to show a daily experience of what my program actually is, part of my program is, I'll give you a day in the life of what a Paralympic shooter is about, what a schedule looks like, training, recovery, the working hours behind the result, I suppose, is what I'd call it. So, I'm hoping you'll stop by. Thank you.